Everyone talks about these companies. We talk with them. Welcome to Insider Talks, the show where we interview China-based professionals on hot and thought-provoking topics.
Hello everyone, I'm Matthew David, the founder of Dasha Consulting, and this podcast of Market Insiders is with Alexey Sidorenko. You are China brand ambassador and sales manager for CIS countries for the brand Kaluga Queen, and you are in the caviar business. You are Russian, so all makes a lot of sense. And to work in a caviar business, being Russian and in China. And as a first question, I like to know a bit more about Kaluga Queen, what's the company, what you are doing, and I was very, very impressed about the way you produced, what you are managing as a land, as a water field to raise estrogen and to get caviar. So my first question is, would you mind sharing a bit about yourself and about Kaluga Queen too?
Okay, good morning, Matthew. My name is Alex and I came from Russia. I'm already in a caviar business more than 8 years. And now this time I working together with a Kaluga Queen company. So the Kaluga Queen company, it's a really old brand in the Chinese market. So with a history of more than 20 years. And the company started breeding fish in 1998. So first fishes came to China and organized in China. It's 98. So, but the biggest problem is then you bring a fish. You should spend a lot of time. It's very young fish. For make a first caviar, already spent 8 years, which is the first caviar. So our first caviar came in 2006, and in that time we just produced only 100 kg of a caviar. And right now, last year we produced 100 ton of caviar. So you can see for 15 years, like how big changes is, and the company increasing a lot. But the biggest thing is the quality of the caviar. So all suppliers around the world are right now quite happy with our quality, and our quantity can support the quality. So right now we really care about the quality, because then you're working with luxury goods. The most important thing is quality. If you make any mistake, and it can be found in the market, so you can forget about your name and about your brand, and especially in the food industry and the luxury food industry. But in any case, this is a really long way to become like a powerful company in the market. Right now, we share like 35% of the world market. And in the beginning, not so many people support Chinese caviar. Not so many people believe in this. But situation changed dramatically, and I think that one of the most important day in our history is blind tasting with Lufthansa. So our manager team just came to Lufthansa for blind tasting, and this time Lufthansa won a one of couple suppliers in the world. So this is a competition. In the table, it's more than 5 different kind of a caviar, and all this caviar come in all around the world. So in the first day, we just set a first position, but not so many people.
When was it?
2011. So it's like years ago. Yeah, and not so many people believe in this result. So Lufthansa want to make a second competition after 1 month. But fortunately for us, in a second competition, we got the same position. And from the days, we supply first class of Lufthansa. And I think this is one of the greatest day in our history. But step by step, we're just increasing our sales and our sales region all around the world. So a lot of different people from the United States, from Europe, from Russia as well. and Japan and China, they all support and love our products. So tell the truth, I'm really proud to sell such a good caviar to the people and make people happy.
When you go to other countries, so I understood, and I understand that what you say, that most of your sales are overseas, if I'm correct. And in China, it's doubling fast, but that's still a long way to go to the level of consumption in the West. Am I correct to say so?
Tell the truth, yeah, because most important thing is a cultural things of a luxury product. So not so many people around China understood a lot of caviar, but step by step, we try to educate, and a lot of people just travel around the world and can see products from Michelin stars restaurant, from different luxury place, and a lot of people call us and ask us to provide such a caviar. But tell the truth, in United States, Russia, and Europe, caviar already no delicacy. So it's like it's quite different. Tell the truth. If I came to Moscow, if I want to eat caviar to some restaurant or some bar, like after 5 minutes, a lot of people came to me and start to ask me or try to share with me or something like that because it's quite big interest. In France, the same. In United States, the same. But in China, a little bit different. It's quite interesting things because you can see that the name of our company is Kaluga Queen. So Kaluga, this is a species of a fish which came from north of China, from Amur River. So Amur River, it's a border between Russia and China. In the north, it's Russia. In the south, it's China. And in this river, it's a two very famous fishes, like Kaluga and Amur sturgeon. So in Heilongjiang province, that people already work with the caviar and work with fish for a really long time. So in Dongbei kitchen, it's some people use a caviar and fish as well. But tell the truth, not so many kitchen like very famous like Shanghai cuisine or Beijing cuisine or let's say Cantonese cuisine. They not really use caviar for a long time. So it's for them it's quite new products. But right now in Beijing, but we work with Dadon and we just make a really nice dish. It's a Beijing duck. It's very famous, and they put a caviar on the top. So right now this is booming around China. Beijing duck with a caviar.
Interesting. For people who don't know and listen to us or who have not been in Beijing, Dadong is a very, very famous indeed restaurant for Peking duck, which is a very traditional dish from Beijing. And what I understand from what you just said is that in order to make caviar more popular, you use a very traditional dish and you try to innovate with a restaurant. And in some way, the restaurant is happy about it because it helps them also to maybe price a bit higher, to bring innovation, and to engage with their clients in a different way. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, that is the truth. So right now, what we're doing, we try to mix cultural things together. So the West and East, we try to bring it together, and we're working not only with Chinese chefs, but we're also working with international chefs and try to bring cultural things together. Also, we like have a close relationship with Shangri-La, with Hyatt, with Peninsula, with all these luxury hotels. So they really help us to make some new dish. So we're always looking for to make some new for our clients and provide some different things, especially in the food. Do you know in China that food, it's a lot of food on the table. It's like hundreds millions different dishes on the table, and any province have a different kind of food. So what we're trying to make is like something different to our clients.
So you have a cook internally, I believe, who is going to innovate with restaurant, or is it more some typical suggestion you have, you observing and discussion, or is it a cook from your side coming up with a new dish recipe?
And tell the truth, it's like we're not really following any restriction about how to cook a caviar or how to pair a caviar with different kind of alcohol. But we just have a couple suggestions, like what is it really good to? For example, Russian way, it's a traditional way of Russian cuisine, only caviar and vodka. I think it's a well-known dish. Like I think that uh, for me, vodka Beluga, this is one of the Russian brand. I think doing really well. So and quality is so good. So when you pair in vodka and Beluga, caviar, Beluga vodka, Beluga caviar, it's really give you such really strong feeling of cultural things. Also, it's really nice to drink caviar with champagne, such let's say Dom Perignon or something like this. So then you go to a brunch or enjoy a nice evening. It's really nice to invite a girlfriend or wife to have such a romantic event. But I think it's more look like a French restaurant and a French way to eat the caviar. But also the Chinese way how to eat caviar. We right now try to make with Mao Tai. Like you got a shot of Mao Tai and some caviar, or also Jiao Yu Tai. Another kind of spirit from China, also very kind of luxury things. And of course, try to establish different kind of foods. For example, sometimes you can eat pure caviar and pair with champagne, and sometimes you can put a caviar on the top of a dish or side dish. It's like you can play with around different things. It's always depend on the chef in the restaurant. We just give him a freedom, and he can, it's like an art of luxury food.
How do the chefs react to caviar? Let's say Chinese restaurants. How do you feel they react with caviar? Do you feel that it's easy for them as an addition in dishes for recipes, or actually they're a bit reluctant? It takes time for them to innovate. I feel it shouldn't be that hard to add caviar actually as an addition on recipes. Such as actually baking duck, it makes a lot of sense. But what's the general discussion you have with them? What's your feeling? Is it something new, so they need a bit of time? What's their reaction? How do they react? Very open or
Mm,
a bit conservative at the beginning?
how to say? I'm gonna say it's like you also spend a lot of time in China, and China it's a big country with a different culture. And let's say Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Chengdu, maybe it's a big and really opening city with a lot of foreigner, with a lot of overseas experience. So we have our connection with Michelin restaurants. So for them, all the chefs quite experienced and quite open-minded international people. So we know about the career very well. We have they really like okay with the career. But sometimes when you came to a small city, it's a little bit different because we need to educate people and explain them what is a caviar and the history of the caviar. So I would like to say we need more time to educate people. So that's why we're making events, especially like I'm also making some kind of events in Beijing and Shanghai, and we educated people about not about only the way how to cook a caviar, but what is a caviar is, what kind of fish we use to make a caviar, and we still need a lot of education to bring the people really joy of caviar.
What you are saying that the chefs you are working with are already familiar with caviar, so they maybe already use some. So the fact that they work with you, maybe it's easier because it's made in China, so and the quality is good, so they are willing to work with you. But what you say is that the end client needs to be, what you say, educated or to get to know the product. What are the questions they have? You are brand ambassador. I believe you meet with clients, you meet with end clients, right? Who are eating caviar. And what are the typical questions? What are the typical misunderstanding?
I'm gonna tell you that caviar it's not only just a food, but it's a way of life. Yeah, this is a luxury way of life, and you enjoy life. And sometimes for different culture, then you're not really growing up with this kind of a culture. A lot of people in the beginning they not really understood flavor of a caviar. Well, we not understood, let's say, why it's expensive, but why tin is so small. It's like for this is a let's say something with sea cucumber in China. Yeah, like that sea cucumber, it's a really small piece of seafood, but sometimes it's very expensive.
True.
And
Abalone as
and
well. Abalone is very small, right? And it's not very big,
yeah,
and it's very expensive. But the opposite, lobster, which is expensive, can be expensive depending on which lobster. Australian lobster can be very expensive. It's big, and it's impressive when you're on the table. Then how do you answer the question about it's so small and so expensive? I looked at your brochure, and I found out that in your brochure you insist on the water quality, you insist on certification from Europe, you insist on also your ability to export to other markets so that you are international level. What else do you show to make them understand the price and the quantity that's precious?
most biggest problem of the caviar, it's we should breed in a fish for a long time. Let's say different species of fish, we should breed them for different time. Right now we breed a Russian sturgeon, so it's need 8 to 9 years. It's same like a hybrid, 8 to 9 years. That most expensive caviar in the world is the beluga caviar. So for make a beluga caviar, you should wait for 20 years. So can you can you imagine if you just invest all the money for 20 years and that caviar is a fish belong to your family right now with same age like your kids? And this is a biggest problem of the price. Tell the truth, in like before, like 20, 30 years ago, the price not that much expensive because people can catch caviar in the Caspian Sea, in the Black Sea, and in the different places all around the world. But right now, that's prohibited to catch a wild fish, and because of overfishing, this is not so many fish exist right now. So it's totally prohibited to catch kind of a fish in a wild condition. So right now, only one way to still like protect the fish, it's only aquaculture. So right now we not only produce the fish, but we also support a fishery around the China that we bring small fish eggs into the different places to increase the population of the fish. And because we unfortunately cannot produce like million tons, 100 tons, 1,000 tons, we have a quite limited mm, thing in the market. That's why price, unfortunately, quite expensive. But I hope in the future it can be more affordable for people, and people will enjoy it like for daily routine.
So in your presentation, there's another aspect you are displaying. It is the nutrition of caviar, what's inside. And actually, your presentation, maybe it's more for B2B than B2C, more for distributors, but you insist on very technical aspects. So the nutrition with very detailed aspect of how nutritious it is and good, I believe, for health. That's what you are saying when you list all the nutrition, but also how you produce and certification and so on. Uh, have you built some stories, branding around caviar and the brand, like we see in the wine industry? When you talk to a wine producer, he's talking about the story. He's talking about the different tastes of grapes and how it pair with other food. What kind of speech do you have in China with caviar?
Okay, right now, so that is the biggest name that is a Kaluga Queen. So they built our brand about the story of Kaluga Queen. So Kaluga, it's one of the biggest species of this kind of a fish, which living in the north of the China. This is a local fish. And Queen, that name of the beautiful, powerful, successful woman, or let's say girl. So we try to build our brand on this story. And of course, in this case, we should say something about our lake. So this is a place where we're growing the fish, which is, I think, one of the beautiful place around the China. This is the Jiandao Lake. So the lake is quite huge. It's the same size like Singapore. It's more than 572 square kilometers, and the deepest water about 100 meters, but average about 50 meters. So it's, I think you stay in China for a long time as well. You should go there and enjoy the time. And it's not far from Shanghai, only 2 hours by high-speed train after Hangzhou next station. So guys, if you're in Shanghai, just enjoy your time. For weekend, you can rent a nice place there and you can see everything by yourself.
You emphasize on the
Yeah.
lake, the history of the lakes, the description of the lake, how natural it is, how healthy it is. That's part of the branding.
They know, because the most important things for fish it's a water. If you have a nice water, you're gonna have a pure taste of the caviar. Because not only pure water, but also that condition of oxygen, also days, numbers of sunny days, and purity of water and temperature of water are quite important for making fish. Another things what I want to add is like we feed in a fish for 8 or say 10 years, but before we make a caviar, we should stop to feed a fish for 45 days to clean up all body and to bring amazing taste to the caviar. So it's very important things to pick a temperature condition over water before production of caviar and stop to feed a fish for 45 days. It's like super important to make a nice product.
So that's actually something you are going to tell the end client, the consumer, when you meet with them, right? The process, how it's produced.
Yeah.
That's part of the main discussion you have, right, with them.
This is also, in our caviar class, we also introduce a caviar process as well, because in the caviar process, it's in a world with 2 or 3 different way of caviar production. So right now we use Iranian way to make caviar. For example, like we should have 15 steps, 16 steps, and we should make it in 15 minutes. And you can do it by any machine. So it's only handmade product, which can and it should be finished by very fast in the normal condition of water temperature and temperature of the factory. So we always support with this kind of things to make a nice caviar.
It's very interesting to see how Chinese consumers are reacting to caviar. And are you seeing any seasonality? We went on your Tmall and we saw that actually I think we went just after Women's Day, and we saw that your sales were pretty good for that week compared to the whole month for the last 30 days. So I believe the product is used for romantic dinners, for some festivals, but March 8th, Valentine's Day, could be high season for you. Am I correct with that? Am I missing a bigger picture? Maybe Chinese New Year is bigger, maybe Qixi Jie? I don't know.
We're working on a different international market. So let's say about our world first. In every country, that day there is specific, and that most important day, I think, for all around the world, this is a New Year Eve, Christmas and New Year.
China too?
Yeah, China. It's also quite nice season, quite nice sales point in a New Year or Christmas. But in China, a little bit different. We do quite nice sales in Shuangshi, 11th of November, but also like different festivals like 14th of February, Valentine's Day, 8th of March, Spring Festival, Dragon Festival, and so on. So we can support, in every country we try to support local festivals to bring people some different kind of experience. For example, for Chinese New Year, it's also very, very good doing such a nice promotion all around China.
When I was thinking about the Chinese clients, I was mainly thinking actually of the Chinese clients being in a restaurant and eating actually some way a luxury restaurant, a premium restaurant. But actually, what you are describing with Shuangshi or other festivals, that people buy it for home. Do you have any idea how they consume it at home? Because Chinese don't eat that much bread. Caviar is new to them. This is expensive for what it is, for the size of what it is. So how do they use it at home? Do you have some ideas? Do you have some discussions with them?
Yeah, every person did a different way. It's also quite different, like who's purchasing your caviar. This is old people, young people, kids, because we really believe that caviar really can help to old people improve their health condition. So if it's like kind of old people, they eat at home pure caviar, by teens. But you should remember, best way to eat a caviar, it's only 15 to 100 grams per day. This is a limit.
Do you talk
Yeah,
about that on your website, and do you advertise on how much to eat for health purposes?
yeah. Of course, we always like talk to people, and like a production, we always can say, okay, guys, you can eat like kgs or tons of caviar for one day. It can be good for your health, but to tell the truth, 50 grams to 100 grams is like enough for one day. And other things, I really believe that young people try to make romantic heaven at home. We just buy champagne and eat with caviar, and some family people want to make a sushi or sashimi at home and put some caviar in, then eat with rice, like in a Japanese restaurant. And a lot of people just found out some information from the internet how to eat a caviar as well. So right now we're working on the book. It's gonna be like a story of the caviar in China, and also a book how to cook caviar at your home.
I see. So if I segment a little bit how Chinese eat caviar, would be one for maybe health reasons or the health purpose, like maybe older people who have this understanding of the health benefits. Then you have people who like to cook at home, maybe very associated with Japanese food, as far I understand, with fresh food and fresh seafood. And then you might have the younger population who is trying maybe caviar as something fancy, as you said, with champagne, which is very associated to something fancy. Am I correct with a segmentation?
I just want to add one more segment. It's a really young generation. It's a small kids, 3 years old until let's say 12 or 15 years old. We are producing a caviar for them, but with a less percentage of the salt. So that usually the percentage of the salt around 7 for the really young, for really small kids. We're making a caviar with a less salt.
It's very interesting because we see that actually Chinese might consume for purposes which are very functional, very health oriented, for all elderly, for older people, and very young. When actually you need specific nutrition. Actually, I saw that as another market in the cheese market. The cheese actually is consumed by very young kids. I mean, by kids. Because it helps them to grow actually. That's the picture of cheese for Chinese, because Chinese don't eat bread, for instance, so they don't know how to put cheese anywhere. So some players have created cheese with strawberry, cheese with another fruit to make it a bit more sweet. So it's very interesting what you say.
Yeah, we not put any like some additional flavor to a caviar. Not any spicy, only pure caviar, but we can play with the salt percentage. And tell the truth, when I eat caviar one time a month or week, I don't really remember, but it's always some caviar in refrigerator in my home. So it's really helpful for nutrition, and I just want to make it's promotion. But tell the truth, do you know people like, let's say, like Habib, UFC champion who just fight with of a guy, Habib Nurmagomedov. He's the biggest fighter of UFC. Actually, he's came from Dagestan, from Russia, and it's a lot of big fighters came from this place, and also, Iranian fighters or Azerbaijani fighters. So also very nice, like in tatami, and all of these guys came from an area that people mostly eat caviar. So I really believe for men's health, it's really can support because of numbers of the champions from UFC or from wrestling or from a different really hard kind of a sport. They always came from the place where caviar very famous. I'm not sure if it's because of they eat the caviar or because of different things, but tell the truth, how is it?
Is it
I really
so? Is it something you say to Chinese consumers? The story you just said about those specific UFC champions who eat caviar. Is it something you mentioned to Chinese? Are they receptive to it?
this is not main story, but yeah, I can tell the story.
Do they find it funny, or do they find actually insightful and believe actually will buy because of those stories, which shows health benefits?
I don't think they're gonna buy us of that story, but it's definitely they quite interesting for next generation. You know how the Chinese people invest in the kids. The kids really important in China, so they do the best what they can and feed a caviar to the guy, to the small kids. I think it's really amazing thing for the brain.
Interesting. I see some patterns here with relationship to new kind of food between Chinese and new kind of food. When you look at when you look at wine, when you look at a few like infant formula brands, wine is also advertising on the fact that it's good for health from one drink of wine every day. It's good for it is said to be good for health. I wouldn't say one drink a day and keep the doctor away, but it's a bit the idea. And second thing is about infant formula. There were some advertising a few years ago that some infant formula would develop the brain of the kid of the child, and there is this idea of what you eat is also what you become or you are and develop your abilities, which is scientifically proved, but it's very conscious. Chinese are very self-conscious about that. It's very interesting to see the pattern. I like to go back to the segmentation. We talked about segmentation in terms of why you consume it.
Mhm.
It's fancy, it's healthy, it's good within fresh food dishes like Japanese food and so on. What about the region, the provinces, the cities? Is it very linked to the income of people? So you will mainly see on Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen because the income is higher and because it's international? Or is it also linked to the cuisine? And we have 8 cuisine in China, right? We have Sichuan cuisine, we have Shanghai cuisine. Sichuan is spicy, like Hunan is spicy. Shanghai is less spicy. Then you have also a lot of Hogo in some places, so hot pot. What do you feel about the provinces and cities which work best for caviar?
Okay, tell the truth that most consuming city around China is Shanghai. In the top, it's number one. I think it's two different things. One, it's in number of healthy Chinese citizen. In another thing, it's a number of foreign people who live in Shanghai. And business in Shanghai is going quite good compared to another city. Next one, it's Beijing and Shenzhen and Guangzhou as well. So it's also quite good things. In Beijing, it's also quite high restaurants and big numbers of foreigners who's working with embassy and different government. And Shenzhen, it's quite quite new city. So to tell the truth, it's a free city, quite good from sales perspective. But in Chinese cuisine, only one cuisine have a fish. It's from Heilongjiang province, so it's Dongbei cuisine. Have a kind of a fish. So this is some very nice kitchen in Harbin. So a lot of Harbinian restaurant use fish there for a local market, and it's historically improved. So right now, it's very famous thing in Harbin. It's a festival of ice in the winter time. we also quite enjoy this fish product there. So right now we're working in Beijing with Beijing duck. So I think it's number one around China. And right now we also try to find something in the different cuisine and pair with Chinese local things.
I see.
Uh,
So would you agree if I say that Caviar is very linked to international market in China, meaning cities which are international, where you have a good mix of Chinese who have lived abroad, who are very internationally minded, and also actually foreigners living there, and including foreigners from Asia. And the biggest community actually in Beijing are Japanese, Korean as foreign communities, not only Western communities. And then there's a second market which is linked to the local market, local dishes, local recipes, which is, would you say, Dongbei, Heilongjiang, where you actually have a consumption locally with restaurants locally, with a culture of using caviar. So you have those two main segmentation. Is it correct to see this way?
For one say, yeah, this is correct, but tell the truth right now that international people, right now it's a COVID situation. It's not so many international people stay in China. Unfortunately, it's already 1 year, and nobody know what's gonna be next for next couple years if they back to China or gonna still be outside. Numbers of travelers, Chinese people who travel to uh, Germany or France or Italy or United States really huge. So what we found out, it's a lot of numbers of the people they really enjoy care outside of China, like in the Michelin restaurant of Paris. And right now they just back to China after like travelers, and they are looking for some similar experience in the local market, and that's quite good thing for us because how to say people should Chinese cannot travel anymore. Flavor of the caviar they already tried in outside, and right now this is some they have already they have idea of the caviar, and right now we're more and more looking for local. Lots of luxury brands right now. Doing quite well because of COVID situation, because not millions of Chinese stay in China.
Yeah, I might have not expressed me correctly, but indeed I was thinking myself that international Chinese being actually, I should have used the word the Chinese traveler who go overseas or who are internationally minded, who have an international perspective. And I'm very curious about when you work online, when you do your promotion online, I believe you work with some KOL as well, because it is a thing to do in China. How do you interact with them? How do KOL talk about caviar? I believe you cannot control everything, so they should talk about it in their own way. Also, what kind of comments do you have online from people? They should make it theirs, this product. So when a market is make it his product, for himself, he's always coming up with a different story, a different way of presenting. Have you found anything which was a bit different from your initial introduction that KOL were using or comments online?
Right now, mm, let's say Douyin, very famous platform all around the China, not only Douyin but Xiaohongshu. And yes, it's true, we're working with a numbers of KLA, but we not really control what they said. We just give them some specific things. Then usually then we welcome them to our factory and show off to everything all around the factory how to teach. They just give them like training and a workshop for 1 day and show them everything around our factory and to give them some suggestion. But every QLA have a different segmentation in the market. So some of them trying to make, let's say, funny and curious video about the fish, about the caviar. Some QLA just jumping in the water and catching the fish in the water. So make some really funny to the watchers, to the fans. But some QLA are more professional and working with very high cuisine. So they're making a nice Michelin restaurant dish in a video. So everyone is quite different. We not really give them any limit about the video. We just say to that KLA guys, we welcome you anytime. And if you need any information, we can support. And okay, do what you want, but just follow the Douyin rules. So really open for you. You can do for what you want. But I remember a really nice, funny story that people just jump to a to a cage with a fish, and it's quite deep, but people try to grab a fish. Yeah, because do you know that fish quite big? The fish can be 50 kg, 70 kg. It's not like 5 kg small fish. It's like it's like really big one. And
Yeah, interesting. We work in the king crabs industry before, and when you see a big king crab of 8 kilogram and someone is taking it on with his bare hands, that's impressive. That's something which can be used for the brand, for the to showcase a product, the biggest king crab, and yeah, they are from Russia too. So to show the animal and to compare to humans and how big it is, that's always
yeah.
I think that's working well. What about online comments? Do you feel your team has to answer to specific questions to correct people online about Caviar, or to what do you see in terms of comments, in terms of questions online?
The person who is really responsible in Taobao store. So that person can answer all the question from the Taobao. And right now it's also a very famous thing. And we have like Taobao online platform. If you have any question, you can ask them. But I did a couple online show by myself. So it's quite very interesting experience. And a lot of questions came from different perspectives of view. Some people asked where caviar came from, how to eat caviar, what is the best way to pair with what kind of liquid, like champagne, vodka, or Maltai. And a lot of question about transportation. Is it possible to move small tins of caviar from factory to some small city or to big city? Is it safe to fly by airplane? What is the temperature, condition control, etc. Caviar is very specific things, and you should be very careful with buying a caviar because fresh caviar shelf life very short. In the small tins, it's only 1 month. So then you use a caviar, you should be know this caviar it's very fresh. And then the transportation from factory to your market or to your home, you should know that the temperature is right. So the most important thing, the temperature between +2 and -2. So always when we sell it here, we put some dry ice inside of the box and keep temperature on a normal way.
I see. So, do you see in terms of comments, in terms of questions, something negative? I believe one of the some way negative comment we could have is that it's very expensive for something very small. But what other thing do you see? Maybe it's too salty. We have this comment for a lot of um, um, uh, dishes from overseas, or pastry is too sweet, for instance. Do you have the comment for caviar that is too salty? What kind of negative comments would you have?
Okay, yeah, then you're working with a big numbers of the people. Okay, sometimes you have a different question, sometimes they are not really easy to answer. Most question it's about the price. And when you buy crops, you can understand that price of the crops quite big, but crops here also quite big. But sometimes the question is, okay, for 10 grams, I should pay 200 RMB. What I can get? What is the reason why I should pay such a big money for a small tin of caviar? And sometimes our beluga caviar can be more pricey. But that is the reason. This is a luxury thing, and idea is we spent 10 or 20 years to make a fish, to make growing the fish this kind, and that is our answer. Unfortunately, we cannot sell it cheaper due to our cost of production. for 10, 20 years of investment. Another situation about the saltness, this is a standard way of producing a caviar. So we always put a saltness for 3.7%. So let's say this is one of the most international standards of producing a caviar. So we also try to just follow the rules of the international standards. But in any case, we can play with the flavor. We can put a little bit less salt or a little bit more salt, or according to your idea. Also, that every different kind of a fish, they have a different size and different color of the eggs. So sometimes a Siberian sturgeon, it's more about black color. It's like totally black. But Russian sturgeon or hybrid can be different color. It can be from dark black to a light and cold color.
Do you
So
have question on
sometimes,
the color? You have question on the color.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's a lot of people ask, oh, okay, in the internet and found the answer that black caviar should be black, but your caviar, it's not that black what I'm expected. Why? So this is the most common question about the caviar.
I see. I see. Questions that actually are easy to answer in some way for the price, for the color, because it's technical in some way. And the saltiness is something which is linked to the product. So basically, there is no there have never been any negative or food scandal on caviar like we could see in the infant formula in the past, or not much in seafood, by the way, neither. So this is not this kind of topic in China so far. Okay, in the industry.
Yeah, tell the truth, like with this COVID situation, as you remember, one year ago, or like 6 or 7 months ago, this is some scandal about import seafood
Mm.
from Norway, from Saudi, with the salmon fish. So from this time, we just do a lot of job for protect our quality.
It impacted people and
Yeah,
about it. Okay.
yeah, it's infected of people. So some people scared to eat the sea product, but after a couple of weeks, we already prove our quality, improve the COVID situation in the factory. So we like totally free out of COVID, and right now our product totally safe. I think right now, yeah, right now we live in the COVID war, so it is a big influence from the COVID situation. But as I mentioned before, after the scandal, some people like a little bit afraid of seafood, but during the couple of weeks, we just do everything what we need to be done and provide all certification about the safety from the safety control department.
We are close to the end, and I realized that we didn't talk about the size of the company and some numbers. We said that you were producing 100 tons, right, of caviar, if I'm
Yeah.
correct. You're actually, the company is employing 400 people in the whole company, so processing, R&D, quality, sales, marketing, purchasing. And are you able to share the revenues for this year and the growth, or is something confidential?
Tell the truth, like we increasing year by year. So in beginning, what I mentioned before, in 2006, we just produced 100 kg, and step by step, we just add volume to the export. Before that, I think 2 years before, we just made 80 tons. 1 year before, it's 95, and this year we have an idea to make more than 100 tons, and we just producing more and more. And the COVID situation have some influence, of course, on the market. And from the business perspective of view, we also have some situation with RMB and US
Increasing,
dollar.
right? So it's
Yeah, so
important to sell to the US, I believe, because the price is getting more expensive.
yeah, we have a 400 people, and we have like international sales department, about 15 people. This is like all people working with different region. The people responsible for every specific place all around the world, and every year just travel to different country to meet the customer personally and discuss contracts for the next year. Of course, with right now with the COVID situation quite different, but we think in the future it's going to be more stabilized.
As a last question, if people want to reach out to you on the caviar business, either because they have a restaurant, either because they want to partner with you to distribute your product, how can they reach out to you? On LinkedIn, by email?
Of course, in China, the most things WeChat. In China, we have a domestic sales team and we have a domestic phone numbers and of course WeChat and all the connection information. So it's quite easy to reach us out in the local or from international.
Do you want to share any contact info for you or for the company?
By Google Kaluga Queen Caviar company.
Yeah, by email.
And it's by mail, and it's going to be more enough to get some information in a basic thing, because we have a lot of in the internet. It's a lot of information about our company.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see how the caviar business market is evolving in China. I think it would be great to actually have an update, maybe in 1 year, in 2022, to see how it has evolved. You have been in the business for 8 years. You have seen the evolution, and I feel this is a market which is going to evolve very fast in China. Thanks, Alex, for your time. I really enjoyed the talk and very happy to meet with you in Shanghai or to visit you sometime in Hangzhou.
Yeah, then you have a time. You're always welcome to Hangzhou. It's not very far from Shanghai. And I think in April we can meet in Shanghai. And
thanks, Alex.
no problem. Thank you very much for your time. Hope to see you soon.